You're listening to the Wilmac Wire, the podcast that's designed to give you a glimpse into a growing SaaS company, specifically in the realm of customer interaction technology. From customer experience to data management, we'll talk about it here. Thank you for tuning in.
Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Wilmac Wire. My name is Emily Miller from Wilmac Technologies. In this episode, we're bringing back Wilmac's president and CEO, Steve McDonnell, joining us to chat about what's been going on in our world and some exciting things going on at Wilmac in October. So Steve, how's it going? Thanks for joining us again.
It's going well. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah. So last time we kind of did like an interview style, and I asked a lot about your experience and kind of where you see the company going. And this session though is going to be a little bit more conversational. We're going to talk about some things going on in the industry and get your feedback. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's do it. We'll start with the industry roundup, as we like to call it. So I'm going to touch on a few recent things that we've been seeing and experiencing in the industry, and then we'll talk through your thoughts. So first things first, there's another data privacy lawsuit involved with AI in the contact center. This past summer, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about Patagonia and what they were dealing with Talkdesk specifically. The one that most recently came up in September was with Home Depot. And they were using Google Cloud Contact Centers AI to record and analyze calls without consent. So this all goes back to the California Data Protection Act. So it's really similar, like I said, to the lawsuit from July with Patagonia. That's 2 now in a couple months. AI bringing up some issues around that thread with data protection, data privacy. What are your thoughts on this?
I think we'll probably see a lot more of this in the next couple of years, but a lot has to be ironed out.
Yeah.
It's a state-to-state issue right now that could turn federal, but you're seeing most of it out in stricter states like California. It's kind of, they're pointing at recording without consent is basically where this is getting to. Right. It's one of the reasons why we don't really get into that capture world. Yeah. There's a lot of security that has to go around that. We resell NICE, Five9, Variant companies that are in that world, but they're large companies that have large legal and security teams to deal with this type of thing. That being said, with AI still really trying to be figured out, I put it to kind of in the late 90s with the internet. We're at that stage where we don't know what it really means. We know it's going to be something huge, but we don't really know what it means. So I think you're going to see a lot of this. Unfortunately, politics will come into play. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. We'll be paying very close attention to it. I will meet with NICE and Variant and some of our partners to make sure they have a good handle on it. But right now, I think everyone's just kind of trying to be as careful as possible. For the violation of the California, the two-party consent, that's a beep tone. Right. Or some companies will actually come out and say, hey, we're going to be recorded. So I don't know the ins and outs of what exactly happened with Home Depot. But it is definitely something that we'll keep our eye on.
Definitely. And I think the way this came up was a consumer was like, all right, we're being recorded. I didn't know we were being recorded. And I think there's still a lot of tentativeness, like you said, with the internet in the 90s around AI, what that means, what they're doing with our data.
Yeah, I think there's two different things. The two-party consent, there's certain states that you have to let the person know that you're being recorded. Majority of states are not like that. Yeah. So you're not going to run into that issue. Then the other issue is, all right, they have a call that I was on. How are they going to analyze it? What are they doing with it? And are they putting it in some AI algorithm? I don't know how you're going to stop that. Yeah. I don't think it'll be at a consumer level. Again, it'll probably get into some sort of politics. From a business perspective, you'd think the consumer would want that because it's going to help them with their experience at the contact center. Right. But that education is not out to all consumers at this point. So again, we'll be paying close attention and wait and see what happens.
Definitely. All right, thanks for sharing on that. So moving into our next industry roundup topic of conversation revolving around workforce management. the scheduling of agents, forecasting of agents, agent satisfaction, all that jazz. So we're seeing companies increasingly adopt more sophisticated WFM software because companies are putting more emphasis on workforce wellness, on their employee satisfaction, and how that contributes to CX. So contact centers have been facing this challenge for years. We've been working with WFM solutions in that realm for a long time, but on the public safety side, 911 centers, we're hearing from them that they're still using pretty basic workforce management methods, if they even know what that means. It's more scheduling, using Excel spreadsheets. So let's talk about the implications of WFM across different industries and your experience with it, what you're seeing.
Yeah, so Wilmac's been in the WFM world for probably 15 to 20 years at this point. Most of our WFM experience is pure contact centers in the Northeast region, I would say, and Southeast Canada. I know Emily has touched upon quite a bit, but we are definitely putting a focus on Western New York, or specifically Rochester, the past 2 or 3 years. And we're seeing there's definitely more of the older version of WFM going on. So the way I would split it out, there's 3 different layers at this point in the WFM evolution going on. I didn't think there was that first one really in contact centers anymore, but apparently coming back to Rochester and talking to customers, there's definitely some of that. And then you mix in 911, right, which typically they don't use WFM. So right, they are starting from scratch. So that first layer is most, if it's a pure contact center, it would have to be under probably 75 agents. And then the back office or 911 that's starting to kind of get into it, they utilize this as well. And that's just a simple Excel sheet or manual scheduling. So there's a human being, or multiple human beings in most cases, looking over a spreadsheet and manually scheduling and forecasting, which is not effective at all. Then the next layer is what you typically have seen for the past 15, 20 years and what you typically see in WFM. And that's going to be your NICE IEX solutions, your Variant Witness solutions, Calabrio. And then now Five9 and CX1, you know, they kind of partner with those companies, or obviously NICE and CX1 are together to have that solution. And that's your typical software application that does it for you. And that can go anywhere from, 50 to 75 agents all the way up to, 30,000 agents. So that is what Wilmac has been involved with. That is what we resell, build managed services around, consult. Very popular. And the third kind of level is what we're starting to talk about with AI. How much further can that solution go with AI? And that's a deep conversation, I would say, but it is important, and it will be coming. For this discussion, with your question on 911, it's all right, how do we get these people or these organizations to realize the next evolution from being an Excel sheet is your typical WFM at workforce management solution, and what can that do for you? The ROI it can save, the effectiveness it can do to a company. So that's kind of where we are as a company. So I would say we're in the education phase right now. Typically, our Canadian 311, which is the same as American 911, are a little bit more progressive, and on they're eager to innovate compared to the American 911 centers. So they're already beginning to look at these workforce management solutions. So our job is to be up there educating them. Our sales reps out of the Canadian office are doing a great job. We didn't know if this was ever going to be a match, but it seems to be going well. And then just as importantly, in Rochester, you see, I would call them regional banks, national companies that have a pretty big national presence in Rochester that just haven't been exposed to this technology, that we need to get in front of and educate, and get them out of the Excel sheets. Eventually, everyone's going to be going to that AI third level version, and you want to be making at least the step to the middle ground, I would say.
Right, and I think you made a couple important points to call out there. The first being that, we've been in this space for a long time, so it was kind of nice to see a natural progression with public safety, even though it's a while behind. that they're coming to us about it because we serve them on the 911 center recording side for such a long time. So that's been really interesting to see, and we're actually hosting a webinar on it that I'll mention later. But second to that, with what we're seeing with AI, so many companies are like, oh, AI, let's integrate that into all our solutions. And you're like, all right, let's slow down, let's take them to the middle ground and just take a step in the right direction instead of going all in and having no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, I think, in AI in general, you can talk about this with, our typical telephony or recording. If someone's on a, legacy Mitel or a legacy Avaya, bringing them up to some advanced 5.9 or CX1 AI solution is going to be a large step. So just like with WFM, if someone's using Excel sheets, they might not be educated enough to this point or be aware of enough of simple WFM solutions, and get them to that middle ground before you get them going to AI. I think that there's so much to be figured out in AI that there's plenty of room to get them to the spot where they can shift to AI within the next 3 to 7 years. And again, the same thing with telephony. Get them to a cloud, some sort of cloud solution, 5.9 or CX1. And then once you're there, you can start looking at the AI.
Yeah, and I think that falls a little bit, it falls well into our kind of differentiators there. We want you to be able to crawl before you can walk before you can run. We're not going to just agree to give you the best and most hot solution that's going on right now. We want to make sure we understand your situation and empower you with the correct solutions to get you where you need to be and to achieve those business goals, not make it more complicated for you in the future. So, all right. So I'll keep us kind of on that same line with the digital first approach too, which has been a topic of conversation lately. So we pulled some data, and over 57% of customers, they prefer to engage through online platforms rather than traditional methods with their contact center. So I think that's a play a bit into the different generational preferences. But along with that, there's more evolving channels. There's more places that businesses are accessible. So like I said, more companies becoming more accessible on more channels, and customer expectations are increasing because of that. Well, I can reach out to this company through a chatbot, but you don't have a chatbot. Like, what's with that? So customer expectations are increasing. So I have a question for you around what channel do you prefer when you call into a contact center? And then second to that, why is kind of that omni-channel functionality so crucial to the contact center as a service base?
Yeah, it's funny. Probably in 2014, 2015, when we really started to see this CCAS.
Yeah.
And then as being partners with NICE forever when they acquired CX1 in Contact, which is now CX1, we started to dive into it a lot. And they had a lot of surveys and facts that showed ages were separate on how they went to a contact center. I personally, I think I fall into an age of like, some people prefer to do the chat, some call. If I'm at the point where I'm actually contacting someone, I am going to pick up the phone and try to get a hold of someone. That's just me. And I know that different age groups have completely different opinions on that. Going into your omni-channel, that's exactly why omni-channel is important.
Yeah.
You talk to someone your age, you're probably not picking up the phone.
No.
You talk to a 65-year-old, they're picking up the phone. So the more diverse you are in the way a customer can communicate with you, I think the better. That falls right into some of the customer service things going on in Rochester. If you don't have the systems like a 5.9, like a CX1, like a Genesis, you can't be omnichannel. So you're giving your customers one way to communicate with you, and that is normally a phone call, or you're going to have to walk in somewhere and speak to someone. So I do think that stresses omnichannel can be kind of a buzzword, but the reason why it's so important is because you need to give your customers a diverse way to get a hold of you, because hopefully you have a diverse customer base. I do think most of this is around age, language barriers. We have a big event coming up on the 24th about equity in the contact center and how contact centers and companies can be better for their customers with omni-channel type solutions.
Yeah.
So I do think the reason why it's so important is because you need to have your customer base accessible to you, or you're going to lose customers. So again, I still prefer the old school call, which depending on the company, you can get bounced around 100 times. But I'd like to speak to a human.
Right. Yeah. And I think you made a couple all good points, but with the different generational demographics part of it, obviously we have our target audience. We have to know their preferences. If you're someone who's serving a multitude of generations, you probably need to have multiple options. Like you said, I'm a chatbot all the way. I'd like to multitask, and chatbot, if I need to escalate, I will. But on the other hand, my 90-year-old grandpa who has an iPad, he'll go on a chatbot too for certain questions, and then he'll go to a call. So it's it kind of varies, but you just have to know your customer base and what they're looking for.
Yeah, and what you see is most contact centers are serving multi-generational.
Yeah.
I mean, you look, most banks, most insurance companies, they're typical businesses. When you look at someone like a Meta or a Google, they're probably serving a more specific younger generation, and they don't necessarily have to have a phone. And they don't. If you can't call Meta.
Right.
So it is dependent on your customer base, but I feel most of our customers and our ideal customer profile are customers their customers are very diverse
100%.
And multi-generational.
Agreed. Okay, and last piece of the industry news roundup. Scott Russell, a former CRO at SAP, he's taking over for Barack Elaim, official January 1st, 2025. So they announced that this past summer. And essentially what was said was that they're unlocking a new phase of growth with Scott Russell. So what does this mean for Wilmac as a partner of NICE?
Yeah, so I think you can listen to some of the analysts. You can listen to what's going on within NICE and all our friendly colleagues over there, and you get a lot of different opinions. First of all, Barack has been as an impressive CEO as you'll ever find. Hopefully, he writes a book or has a memo or something, because he has had quite the impressive run over at NICE. We have sales reps that we worked with for a long time, that were there when Barack was a sales engineer, and he was their sales engineer. Wow. So his ride up to the top was great, and then what he's done as CEO has been even more impressive. To take it from, I think it was around 250, 300 million when he took over, to a multi-billion-dollar organization, which I think is highlighted as the acquisition of InContact. I remember when it happened, and a lot of people were like, "What is this?" They just acquired this enormous company, and no one was that well versed in CCaaS at this point. Shows how forward thinking he was. Then you look at companies like Verint now in the back seat for not doing something like that. So I think Barack's been great. Don't know if he's done forever. I'm sure there's some Fortune 500 companies that would like to nab him. But I wish him all the best and thank him for all he's done for Wilmac. So that being said, they're at a point right now where they got to grow some way. So I don't know much of Scott Russell other than what I've been reading. SAP is a large organization compared to NICE. They are a very enterprise driven, so the general public might not be that knowledgeable about them. They're also, I believe, a European company, even though they have a large presence in the United States. But any enterprise organization probably has some sort of SAP in there. SAP is more of a platform company, where NICE considers themselves more of an application company at this point, where they're siloed up and try to grab as many application layers as possible of their own. I think it's well known, and some of our software is built because they don't exactly play friendly. They're not an ecosystem type of company. I do think, and this is just an opinion, I think part of his strategy will be to make it more of an ecosystem. I think they'll try to make it more of a platform play and jump it up to, the next level. I think they're a few levels away from, like a Salesforce type of company, but that's probably their goal, to try to get going in that direction and become a platform company. For us, I think it's good. I'm very optimistic and excited. I'm sure he'll bring in some new people, which will be new to us since we have a lot of our contacts that we've worked with forever over there. But it gives us an opportunity to build an even better relationship and have a partner who's looking to get even bigger. So I think right now, business as usual. In the next, this stuff takes a while to play out, probably 1 to 3 years, we'll see some changes. But overall, I think it's very exciting. He has unbelievable credentials, being the CRO of a company that size. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, 30 years of partnership with NICE, like it's exciting, like you said, to see this evolution, to have that collective growth.
Yeah, I think, the timing with us building out our own solution the past 4 or 5 years, I think the hope is they embrace that with the new guard. So very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you talking about our own solution, I'm going to take us into what's happening at Wilmac. And I'll share more about the October events in a second. But I think it'd be good to talk about Continuity Replay right now, and any updates we've got going on with that. So Bob P is our VP of Engineering, and the dev team has grown this past month. We've got releases coming out bi-weekly now. Bob and Anthony, our senior software engineer, they were just at Rochester Institute of Technology recruiting for our dev team. So a lot of good things going on. Do you have anything to share about Continuity?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. We've been running kind of the dev side very thin for the life of Continuity. This past year, bringing Bob in to build out a team has been exciting. We have a full-blown team going on over there. Bob's doing a great job. I think even more importantly right now, he's getting his feet wet in front of customers. So we have a lot of new customers in the past 2 months that are going to the cloud version of Continuity Replay, which is very exciting for us. The customers are, mostly Fortune 1500 type of customers. So they're also going to bring ideas, requests, and having a dev team that can react quickly to that, build things quickly, is huge. So I think it's only the beginning. We'll be seeing a lot more of Continuity. I know it's exciting for our sales team as well. It's typically a little easier to sell your own solution and be able to get answers a lot quicker. So exciting things ahead. Big webinar coming out that we're really trying to get people to. Again, overall, we're still at the very beginning stages of Continuity. Had some big partnerships this year, so having Five9, ConvergeOne reselling our product is pretty exciting.
Definitely. Yeah, so we're excited to share more about that in the coming months. So CV, we've kind of touched on the different events that we have coming up, which reassures me that they're all very relevant topics of conversation. So this October, starting next week, actually, we have 3 weeks in a row where we have an event each week, 2 virtual and 1 in person. So I'm just going to run through those really quick, and then Steve, you'll have to tell me which one you're most excited for. All right, so starting next week, October 10th, we've got the workforce management conversation going, specifically in the public safety space. So that is a virtual event. It's going to be called Breaking Free from Spreadsheet Struggles, 5 WFM Challenges Solved. So like I mentioned, Thursday, October 10th, that'll be at 11 a.m. And John McDonnell and Charlie Sneddon from the Wilmac team will be sharing. So like we kind of mentioned in the industry roundup, we're just seeing these public safety customers come to us working on Excel spreadsheets to schedule their call takers and dispatchers, and they're looking for something a little bit more advanced. So we're going to call out some specific challenges that more manual scheduling methods bring about, and how a potential WFM solution can address those. So that will be next week, Wednesday, October 16th. We've got a continuity replay oriented webinar. That's going to be called 3 Scenarios You Find Yourself in Simplifying Compliance with Customer Interaction Data. So that's Wednesday, October 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Bob Pease and again, Charlie Snedden, our SME on everything. They will be speaking. That will also be virtual. And like we kind of talked about, we operate in the compliance space a lot. The challenges that we see come up tend to be thought of at the 11th hour. So we want to empower our customers, prospects, whoever, to address these challenges more proactively and to look for specific things that so they're not worried about it and not bringing us in at the 11th hour too. So that'll be Wednesday, October 16th. So those 2 are virtual. You can head over to our Wilmac LinkedIn page to find any details about those or fill out, and I'll include the registration links in the description for this podcast episode. And finally, the last one, Steve, that you talked about was our in-person event that's scheduled for Thursday, October 24th. And is Digital Health in the Contact Center, an opportunity to advance health equity. That starts at 10:30 a.m. on Thursday, October 24th, and that one's in person. So that is a Rochester-based event. It's being hosted in our headquarters in downtown Rochester, and we're bringing in panelists from local healthcare leaders, Rochester Regional Health, and Anthony L. Jordan Health Corporation, and we're going to have a good conversation about AI and technology and how that can be used to make yourself more accessible to your patients, whether that's through omnichannel functionality, whether that's through AI and intelligent virtual agents. We're just going to have an open conversation about that. So again, really excited for all of these coming up. Got a really busy October, and then heading into November, there's even more. So of those 3, do you have anyone that you're most excited for?
I don't think it's fair for me to pick one. I think all 3 are very important and very exciting. Mm-hmm. Continuity replay is near and dear to my heart because it's our own product. But at the same time, the in-person event in our building, pretty exciting. I know you guys have done a great job. A lot of media will be there and a lot of news coverage. So doing that in person with some local companies should get a lot of traction, and we're definitely excited for that. So I would say those stand out.
Definitely. And then even too, in a future podcast episode this October, I guess we could count this as another event, but you're speaking at Golisano Institute on October 23rd.
Yeah, exciting stuff. What they're doing over at Golisano is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've spoken at all about it to the Wilmac Wire.
Yeah.
But basically, it's kind of like the Peter Thiel stuff on a smaller scale. Tom Golisano has built or invested in building this Golisano Institute, and it's basically for kids that a typical college education doesn't fit, or they want to get extra business and sales. So it's very geared towards sales, I would say, which in a typical college these days, they aren't geared towards that. So it's only 2 years geared towards that. They get amazing speakers in there. I think I'm squeezed between Paychex CEO and
someone from IBM.
And IBM. So that'll be very exciting. I'm excited to meet the kids over there. I've been over there once already. Great facilities. Yep. Again, Tom Golisano, who is the founder of Paychex, is the one behind it. So this is, I think, their only 2nd year in existence. Yeah. So, you look down the road 5 to 10 years of what type of institute this could be, and really for us, what kind of recruiting ground it could 100%. Be. We're very excited.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of good things coming. Steve, thanks for coming on the podcast with me today. We'll plan on having you again in the future for something similar so we can get your input. Looking forward a little bit further, obviously, as I said, or as you can tell, we've got a crazy busy October. But looking into November, within those first few weeks, we'll be attending the Greater Toronto Area Contact Center Association, their big conference up in Toronto. We'll be sponsoring that and having some events. Our Director of Sales Operations, Ben Bowen, will be speaking on a panel up there. And then probably the most exciting thing that we've got or one of the most exciting things that we got to round up the year, I can't rank them like similar to you, is the Top 100 Awards. So that is through the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. It is purely based on company growth. Year over year, the past 3 years. So we submitted our application for that just a few months back, and we're notified that we've made the top 100 fastest growing companies in Rochester. So definitely hard work is paying off. Vision is starting to align better and better. So we're really excited to attend that and figure out where we rank in those top 100.
Yeah, I think the top 100 is very exciting. We were number 9 in the state, best places to work for. So if you can combine that with an award that is around revenue and growth, and getting top 100 in Rochester for that is very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I think all of Wilmac should be very proud of it. So, and then, our end of year is coming up October 31st. So the timing of it all fits well, and hopefully next year we're geared up to really have another gap year at Wilmac. So exciting stuff all the way around.
Definitely, and for sure from October to November and onward, we're riding the wave of momentum. So I know you love to see that. All right, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Wilmac Wire. I'll share all the information about those events in the podcast description. If you have any questions, feel free to find Steve or me on LinkedIn, and any suggestions you have on how we can improve this podcast are greatly appreciated. So thank you again for tuning in, and thanks, Steve, for joining us.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Wilmac Wire. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform or visiting our website at www.wilmactech.com. You can also watch the full video recordings of every episode on our YouTube channel. Thank you for being a part of our community, and again, thank you for listening to the Wilmac Wire.